So I'm moving across the country. I finally arrive at the destination. We arrive at the house, okay? We arrive at the house. I'm there, and the house isn't ready. Honestly, during this time, I just felt stuck. I felt very stuck. Because I moved all my things across the country. You think I have the money to move back? I have to save. It's going to take time. I should have listened to my gut. I knew that I should not have accepted this job offer, but I did it anyway. I'm about to tell y'all about the story where I literally moved across the country for a startup that honestly almost ruined my career. I know I already shared my story about working with one of the worst managers ever, and this story is now going to be about working for one of the, honestly, though they were nice people that I worked with, probably under one of the worst companies I've ever worked at in general. And this is not clickbait. This is not fake. These are things that actually happened in my life. These are things that I even removed from my resume, from my LinkedIn account. So people don't even know who these companies are, who these people were that I used to work with. But geez, it is insane thinking about what I went through when I really look back at what happened. So let's get into it. So let's go back to 2000, and I believe it's 2020, maybe 2019, around the start of when the world was going crazy, when a lot of people were being laid off, a lot of people losing their jobs because there's no money coming into a lot of these businesses. I was working at my mid-level position at Entrepreneur, and this was when I was laid off. During the time I was laid off, I made a video about me filming the day I was laid off because I was trying to film a day in the life video, and that ended up being the day that I was laid off from a company that I really enjoyed working at. Unfortunately, right? I made good friends there. My good friend Jesse still works there. I believe my manager Jake is still there, and etc. But anyway, so I got laid off during this crazy time in the world, and I feel like we're still in crazy times. But as soon as I was laid off, I made a tweet. I made a tweet on the internet saying I was laid off from my job. I support my parents. I have no idea what I'm going to do. Now, I kind of knew that this tweet would kind of do well, but I didn't think it would do so well to the extent that would help me get so many job interviews. To the point that only a couple days after tweeting this, I had 2 job offers. I interviewed at multiple places. I interviewed at companies in Boston and Washington, D.C., and et cetera, and you name it. I interviewed at a lot of different places. But during this time, within 3 days, I interviewed at 2 places. One job offered me a position to be a front-end developer, kind of full stack, a little bit full stack developer, working in Silicon Valley. But the technology I would have been working in was just jQuery, PHP, Laravel, and doing email templates, you name it. I didn't want to do that as a front-end developer. I knew that would only limit my career. Or join a startup on the other side of the country. I was in the West Coast, but if I was to join the second job, just the other job offer, I would have to move all the way to the East Coast. All the way, I would have to drive there, bring my 2 dogs with me, you name it. The job in Silicon Valley was going to pay me about $95,000 a year. They would not budget 6 figures. And the job in the East Coast was going to pay me only $85K a year. And that job, why would it pay lower? Because the place I was going to move to was in a very low cost of living where my rent would have been very cheap if I was going to live there, right? Anyway, let's talk about this. So for some reason, I choose to work at a job that would pay me lesser than a job in Silicon Valley. Low cost of living, lower pay versus $95K a year and living in San Francisco, San Jose. No, thank you. So I chose to go to that startup in the East Coast. But there were signs that I knew that I shouldn't work for this person. I've had experience working with this person. I know people who work with this person. I have experienced times with this person where when they would make a promise, they would break it, right? They would break that promise. So for some odd reason, I decided to trust to work with this person. Even though I worked with them on small projects in the past, I decided, you know what? I'm going to trust them. I'm going to go all in. So what happens? I move. I pack all my things. I take my dogs. I drive all the way to the East Coast. I had a friend who helped me move all the way there, helped drive all the way up to like Nashville area. I moved there and I'm so excited. I'm driving there. So I choose to work for the startup that is actually in the East Coast. So I'm working remote for a little while. Actually, I need to mention that I didn't have to move there yet. They didn't tell me that I needed to move there. They said I could work remote, which is pretty amazing. I'm working remote. I fly to that part of the country a couple times, maybe I think 2 times after I'm working remote, and I love working remote, but then they asked me to fly there a couple times throughout the year, and I did it. I thought that place was amazing. It was pretty nice. As I'm there, as I'm at the other side of the country, I'm working with the people there, the manager, and etc. And this person is telling me all of these amazing things, giving me all of these amazing promises, such as, Chris, if you were to move here, You would never have to worry about car. You can drive one of my cars. I have 8 cars. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty nice. I just sold my car because I just don't want debt, right? I sold my car. I didn't want debt. Then they even said, if you were to move here, Chris, you actually wouldn't have to pay. And then later on, they said, Chris, if you were to actually move to this place, you wouldn't even have to pay rent. I'm like, what? What do you mean I wouldn't have to pay rent? Yeah, you just share the house with another person that works for the company. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go ahead and think about it. That's pretty exciting, knowing that I don't have to pay rent, I don't have to pay for a car, and etc. They made all these promises talking about considerably higher pay, you name it. Are you just like me where I want to learn computer science, but I do not have the time or the money to go back to college to get a computer science degree? Well, what if I told you that there was a way that you could learn computer science without going back to college? This is where you can check out Boot.dev. Boot.dev is a place where you can primarily learn back-end development. What Boot.dev does is that they take a more methodical approach when it comes to learning how to program. And what they don't miss out on is on the computer science fundamentals. In fact, computer science is a core part of their curriculum in the first place. Now, what is even more amazing is the fact that all of the content's free to read. But of course, the later assignments require you to become a patron of the website yourself. Some of the languages that you can learn on Boot.dev is Python, JavaScript, and Go. And if y'all want to check them out, go to Boot.dev. I'll put the link in the description below. And Boot.dev, I want to thank you for sponsoring this video. So, after working for remote and just seeing the possibilities of joining, this would be my first startup actually. Just the thought of working my first startup, building a company from scratch is very exciting. The people, when I would meet with them in person, seemed really cool to work with, and etc. And I told myself, you know what, this is an opportunity in a lifetime. Why not move across the country, making $85K a year, low cost of living everywhere? Why not, right? So I made a decision. I'm gonna move across the country because I'm not gonna pay rent. And I don't have to worry about a car. That's pretty exciting. So on my way there. So before I moved there, I decided, I don't want to live with anyone. I want to have my own place, my own spot with my dogs. I have a lot of expensive equipment. I don't want to share my house with anyone. So I told the owner, you know what? Can I just pay half of the rent or something? Like whatever that person would have been living there for, whatever it would have cost if that person was there, I'll pay for that rent, right? So the rent was pretty cheap. I believe my rent was like $600 a month, $700 a month, renting a 2-bedroom house. It was pretty nice. It's a nice house. I liked it. And so the owner agreed, like, yeah, all right, live there by yourself with your dogs. It's totally fine. Just pay a little bit of rent. All right, cool. I mean, like, yeah, it's nice to have a place for free, but having my own privacy where I can walk around in my boxes, you know what I mean, is nice. Having privacy is amazing. So I make the decision. I start moving across the country. I bring my dogs. Now, please understand, this is not easy. I rent a really big truck. It's costing about $2,000 to $3,000 to drive across the country just to rent the truck, planning all the places that I would stop along the way, which hotels, which places safe, making sure no one breaks into my truck when I'm moving across the country. And this trip took about 5 or 6 days driving across the country. I'm driving across the country, and after a week, let's say 5 or 6 days of driving, I finally arrive at a house that was supposed to be ready for me to move into. Before I moved there, one thing I didn't share with you is that they told me that this house that they were remodeling, a really old house that they purchased that they're remodeling, that by the time I arrived at that part of the country, it would be ready for me to move in. Why is it so important for it to be ready for me to move into? Because I got 2 dogs. I have a new dog right here, my Oki boy. This was 2 years ago. He was like, a couple months old. Moving across the country with him, and then my small dog. I need to have a place where I can leave my dogs when I work in the office. So I'm moving across the country. I finally arrive at the destination. We arrive at the house, okay? We arrive at the house. I'm there, and the house isn't ready. You have to understand the things I was going through my head at that moment. I spent $6,000-$7,000 moving across the country, nonstop driving every day. I'm moving across the country with my 2 dogs, and I get there. The house that's supposed to be ready isn't ready. It's still under construction. It's still being remodeled. The kitchen isn't even ready. All the cabinets are gone. There's dust everywhere. There's paint everywhere. There's wood everywhere. The doors aren't even installed. The bathroom isn't even ready. There's no air, no air conditioning, anything you name it. The bathroom isn't even ready. I moved there, and the house wouldn't be ready until 2 months later. And I'm furious. I'm like, wait. Why did you tell me to leave the comfort of my home in Vegas, move all the way across the country, all the way there, and the house is even ready? Not even just that. I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I can stay in a hotel for 2 months. Fine. What about my dogs though? leave my dogs in the hotel, and I go and I look at rates and how expensive these hotels are. When you go to a hotel, you don't just pay for yourself, you pay for your dogs per day. And I don't want to just leave my dogs anywhere where there are cockroaches, spiders, you name it, right? It has to be a nice area. For my dogs are indoor dogs. I mean, I love my dogs. I want them to be comfortable. And so when I show the pricing of these hotels to the owner, I'm like, all right, fine. I'll stay at the hotel for a couple months, work from there, and etc. Really frustrating. And then the owner tells me this. You know, Chris, that house that I was supposed to stay at has a basement. He's like, Chris, how about this? To save money, you stay at the hotel, you leave your dogs in the basement. And I'm like, what? Hold on. And please understand, all the things that they were, all the things that were in the kitchen, in the living room, all the dust, all the walls that they broke down was thrown into the basement. So he wants me to leave my dogs in the basement with all of that. My 2 poodles. You don't know what's down there. It's cold, right? It's cold at night. My dogs my dogs sleep on the bed with me, right? He just wants me to leave my dogs there in the basement while I sleep in the comfort of a nice hotel room. Not acceptable. So what happened was that I had to pay the extra rate for my dogs to stay at the hotel. He wouldn't pay for it. And the thing is, what infuriated about me that so much is just that I move across the country, you know what I mean? And it's his fault that the house isn't ready. It's his fault that he didn't estimate in time on when the house would be ready. Now, I should have made sure the house was ready, but they told me the house would be ready by the time I arrived there. It wasn't ready for 2 months. And now I have to pay for that for my dog. And I think in 2 months, I stayed in 3 different hotels. And he's actually upset that the hotels are so expensive. And for me, it's just like, hey, you have to understand, I moved across the country to help you. I rejected a job in Silicon Valley that would have paid more so I can help you and grow a company. And so I take these risks when I could have went to a consistent, stable job. I take the risk to join the startup. This guy just has the nerve to, not care, right? From that moment I got there, I just felt like, okay, this person doesn't care about me at all. Of course he doesn't care. I'm just an employee, but that nerve, right? And not even just that. One thing I didn't even mention was he even told me, Chris, just live in this house. We'll have them fix the bathroom by the weekend. Just live in the house. Work from there, leave your dogs there in the house all day and etc. And for me, it's just like, no, not you want me to stay in the house where there's just dust everywhere, not healthy to breathe in, not even livable, and you want me to live there and work from there all day. And the amount of disrespect for that. And from that moment on, I just thought, okay, I got to think about myself now. I'm going to start interviewing or something. This is just not right. But I continue to get the benefit of the doubt because I've known this person for a while. Wow, that was a lot. So anyway, I'm there. I'm working. I'm helping setting things up. I'm helping setting up the new building. You name it. We have a new building where we're going to have our office, etc. Setting up security cameras, setting up all the IT stuff. Just literally wearing multiple different hats because it's a startup. You have to wear multiple different hats to grow the business, right? And so as I'm working there, I finally move into the house 2 months later. Okay, 2 months later, I move in the house. I'm living in a hotel for 2 months. And by the way, in one of these hotels, I found a snake in the room. And it was a nice hotel too. Again, this is, oh my gosh, my life. Anyway, 2 months later, finally return the car, return the truck, move into the house. After 2 months, then I'm there. Maybe a month and a half, probably. No, maybe not 2 months. But after 1 or 2 months, I'm using the car that he said I can use for free. Now, I'm paying the rent. That's fine. I'm using the car he says I can use for free. A couple weeks after I return the rent-a-car and everything, he tells me, hey, Chris, when are you going to buy your own car? And that caught me off guard. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on. And please understand, these promises he made to me that I wouldn't have to buy a car or anything. I can use his car. Someone else was there next to me who heard the same thing. And so for this person to tell me out of nowhere that, Chris, when are you going to get your own car? I'm like, hold on, dude, that's not what you said. This person already broke X amount of promises. And now me moving across the country thinking that I'm just going to really focus, right, save a lot of money and help grow the business. And now telling me that I have to go in debt again to buy a car when I moved across the country for this person to help them. That was like kind of like the last straw for me. Like, what is going on? So please understand, like, I didn't even have the money to buy a car. I didn't have the down payment. I was laid off from my company, an entrepreneur. I had to live off just that money for what? A month, I think, because I didn't get paid right away for the new job yet. And so this person ends up giving me the money to take a loan. This person gave me $6,000 in cash, which was nice of him. But even though it shouldn't have happened in the first place though, right? And so they gave me $6,000 in cash to make a deposit on the Honda CR-V that I bought in that place. I'm in debt again. Bought a car. Monthly payment for this Honda CR-V is like 400 or something bucks a month, or maybe 400 something. Maybe it was like 300 something. It's not a lot, but I don't like being in debt. And so now I have a car that I had to buy paying debt. But anyway, so I'm in debt again, which I was so proud to get out of when I sold my original car in Vegas. And now I'm in debt again. And honestly, during this time, I just felt stuck. I felt very stuck. because I moved all my things across the country. You think I have the money to move back? I have to save. It's going to take time. It was really frustrating because I felt like, I was lied to multiple times. I just felt like, I felt like I was just being used. Yeah, they're paying me, but so many empty promises, right? So many lies. And I was so shocked because this person, they're Christian. They claim to be Christian, someone who really just wants to help people. But to lie to my face it was just crazy. And so, but yeah, I felt stuck. I didn't know what to do. It was during this time when I started interviewing for new positions because I just didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to I was looking at other apartments where I can live in that does not belong to this person because this person owned a lot of houses and stuff. Found a nice apartment, decided, okay, maybe I'll move there. I'm going to start interviewing. And I started interviewing at New Relic. That's when I got hired at New Relic, when I was really receiving a really good income. So now I was working as a contractor for this company while working for New Relic, and I eventually left this job. I finally left that job. I moved to Nashville, and now I'm back here in Vegas. But I think one I really learned from this is just how you can't just you can't just trust anyone, even if you knew this person for years. This person has already lied to me in the past. Broke promises. Maybe I was just desperate because I was laid off from my last job and I really wanted to believe in this person, thinking that I can trust them. I thought I could trust this person. You want to trust this person, and I shouldn't have trusted them. And that was my fault for trusting them, to be honest. One last thing that happened after working with this person was I thought I can continue working for them as a contractor while working my full-time job for New Relic. And they said, yeah. And I asked if I moved to Nashville, and I ended up moving to Nashville. And when I moved to Nashville, they said that I could continue working for them part-time as a contractor. So I'm like, all right, I'll move to Nashville. I'll get a nice apartment for my brother because my brother was living with at the time. So I can have both my New Relic job while working for this company as a contractor, right, as a side hustle. They promised that. We spoke, made a deal. And then when we moved to Nashville, my brother and I, this person stopped responding to me. That me working a minimum of 20 hours a week for them, again, didn't happen. Why? We didn't get it down on paper. This person just lied again, right? And it's so sad because this person has businesses in Christian organizations. And because this person was Christian, I thought I could really trust them. And they lied again, and they lied again, and they lied again. So I ended up living, and I think it's good to understand that my parents were laid off at this point. They weren't working. I was sending them money for the rent, right? The utilities. I was paying their rent, their utilities, while I was paying for my rent and my utilities in Nashville. I was renting a 3-bedroom penthouse. It wasn't expensive. It was only $2,000 a month for that house. And it was for me and my brother. And so now, rather than thinking that I'd have both the income from my side hustle and working my W-2 job, I had to support my parents and me and my brother and my 2 dogs, all of one paycheck at New Relic, right? So what I've learned from this is you need to make sure that before you work with someone, if there are things that are being done, any deals are being done, get that down on paper, get it down in an email, making sure that they agree in that email that these things will be agreed upon, that whatever they promise will happen. Because it's just easy. They can just back out, right? Maybe this person has dementia. I don't know. But this person lied a lot. I'm so shocked. Honestly, and I feel bad because I don't work there no more. I heard news that someone else moved from California all the way across the country to work for this person. This person said that, right? That business owner said that, yeah, the house will be ready. When you move here, it'll be ready for you. This woman that moved across the country to work under him, I think she has a newborn. She has another child. I think she has dogs too. Moved across the country. She gets there. The house isn't ready. The house isn't ready as well. It happened again. So, and when I heard that, and that's why I'm making this video, because when I heard that, all these memories came back. All of these feelings of anger and feeling like I was betrayed came back. I should have warned that person, but I don't work there no more, so I can't warn the person that did that. They did it again. This person, as much as they say they like helping people, lies so much. I don't know what's wrong. Why someone continues to do that and take advantage of people like that? It's sad. But what I'm so thankful for now is the fact that I'm in a position where if I don't want to, I don't have to work for a company no more. If I don't want to work in my job, I can quit. I'll be fine. If they lay me off, if they fire me, I'm totally fine. I'm so thankful. 2 years after this event happened, I'm in a position where I can take care of myself. I work now because I want to work, not because I have to. I work now because I enjoy my company. I enjoy my manager. I enjoy my coworkers. I love what I do as a developer advocate. But I'm no longer at the hems of a business owner, if that makes sense. I'm my own business owner. I have my own employees. My payroll is $8,500 a month for my employees that work under me. And I'm so thankful to be in the situation I'm in today. And this is only happening because I worked my ass off. I worked so hard to build a business, to get to the point where I am today. And I want y'all to be able to do that. Yeah, everyone's dream is to get in tech and receive that 6-figure salary. Yeah, you get there. But if you can figure something out to like a side hustle that you can grow in the long term. This side hustle of mine, I've been growing for over 5 years, 6 years. And now I'm reaping that harvest. I'm making a really good income. I make more out of tech than I do in tech. Start a side hustle. Don't just depend on a W-2 job, but try something out. You never know. But anyway, that's my story of moving across the country for a startup that did nothing but lie to me. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed the episode, and I'll see y'all at the next one. Peace.